How does one go from being a public defender to going into private practice? Let's talk about that. I'm Joel Chorny. I'm a criminal defense attorney here in Tucson. I've been in private practice for a little over 2 years now, but the bulk of my career up to that point when I started my own practice was working as a public defender, working for people who couldn't afford to hire their own lawyer. And I thought I was going to do that for my entire career. I thought I was going to retire doing that. I actually sometimes fantasize is not the right word, but I would picture myself having a heart attack in the courtroom in the middle of a closing argument or something and being wheeled out, and that would be the way I met my end. Not literally, but to hopefully impress upon you that I had no ideations about leaving public defense. And then things changed. So I want to talk about what changed, and a lot of things did. COVID certainly contributed to it. I had to learn how to get enjoyment from places other than my work. I was the kind of person, probably still am the kind of person who very much thrived going to an office and interacting with a bunch of colleagues and coworkers and bouncing ideas off of each other. And I've always thought of myself as a bit of a social butterfly, and I really got a lot of my juice out of interacting with people on a daily basis. But then with COVID, I had to work from home for almost 2 years, and much to my surprise, I got through it relatively well. I had to find other ways to get my satisfaction. I focused on my exercising, I focused on my family, and then eventually we were called back into the office. And I was looking forward to it. I was very much excited to go back, but things weren't the same because of COVID. I was still very concerned about transmission, so I was a stickler for masks. Not everyone in the office was, which led to my open door policy not really being an open door policy anymore. And also, I noticed that a lot of my coworkers, although we were all called back into the office, were still managing to be pretty sparse at the office. People still were working from home. The line was that people were at the jail, but really they were working from home. So it was just a different environment entirely. That's not what led to me to leave, but it certainly helped me get to that point because the job that I had grown so fond of was just not the same anymore. But really, that was just the beginning. I then had a trial loss that was really disappointing. To this day, I'm convinced that that client did not do what he was accused of doing. We tried the case very well. Looking back, the only thing I can think of that I would have done differently is I would have made my closing argument shorter. It was a rather long closing argument, but that I don't think would have made a difference in the verdict. It was the first criminal trial in Pima County Superior Court without peremptory challenges. So I had to go with a jury that was selected in a way that I was not used to, and I was stuck with one juror who frankly had no business being on that jury, but the judge refused to strike that juror. And so we lost that trial. It was very disappointing, very upsetting. That still wasn't the time when I decided I was going to leave public defense, but it was the first time that I really got present to the fact that there's an expiration date on my career. I used to be the mentor coordinator in that office, the public defender's office, and I would teach about burnout and work-life balance. And I was a real proponent of being aware of one's limitations and to take care of oneself to be able to live and fight another day. But I always talked about burnout like it was something that wasn't going to happen to me because I was so aware of it. And then with that trial loss, I realized, oh, I don't have an unlimited number of these defeats in me. I didn't know what the number was, but I knew I had a limit. And I was growing more and more concerned that that I was closely coming to hit that limit. And it got me worried. It got me thinking, what's going to happen next? Now, I still hadn't decided I was going to leave public defense, but I was starting to wonder, how much longer do I have this in me? And then fast forward, I don't know, some weeks, I had in the course of 1 week, two extremely unpleasant client interactions. The clients were knuckleheads, sure, but not in ways that were new or particularly egregious considering what I had encountered before in my career as a public defender. The one client was incredibly disrespectful of my time and my efforts and unappreciative. And the other client accused me of selling them a bill of goods and tricking them into taking a plea agreement that absolutely was in their best interest and that to this day I know was the right call. But those two things happening in the same week were maybe a bridge too far. the straw that broke the camel's back. What was most upsetting about those two client interactions was not so much the clients, but it was how I responded to them. I'm not proud to share this, but I think it's important that I be forthright about this. I said things to those clients that to this day I'm very embarrassed about and ashamed. I found my behavior towards those clients unacceptable. So I called my supervisor and I had her come to my office and we started talking. And I actually broke down and I cried, which I'd never done before with a supervisor in my work, which was also an indication something was going on. And I explained the situation. My supervisor, to her credit, said all of the right things out of concern for my well-being. She said that the office would withdraw from those clients' matters, that we did not need to be representing people like that, and she made sure that I was okay. And I kept waiting for her to chastise me for how I treated the clients, and that never came. And I'm not trying to cast aspersions towards my supervisor or towards the office, but what I realized in that conversation is that I had changed. I had become someone different, and I was becoming more and more concerned that I didn't like who I was becoming. So my supervisor left that meeting. I was left kind of reeling and spiraling. Now, to be fair, I didn't address this with my supervisor. I decided I needed to do some self-reflection, and I did that. And eventually, I came home and I spoke to my wife, and I was very upset. And she suggested that I call a friend, colleague, and mentor of mine, who actually was the person who helped me get my first job out of law school. So I did that, and I started explaining the situation to her. At the very beginning of the conversation, she said, "Joel, what you need to do is open up your own practice." And I was very resistant to that. And I said, no, 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 no. I'm not a business person. I'm not interested in running a business. I don't want to do that. I wouldn't even know what to do. I don't feel like learning a whole new set of skills. And we kept on talking. We spoke for about 90 minutes. By the end of that conversation, I had resolved that I would, in fact, open up my own practice. My friend had said to me that it was time for me to make a bet on myself, to take a chance. She said that I was a very good attorney. She's an appellate attorney who has seen some of my trial transcripts in handling appeals, so she could speak from firsthand knowledge, if you will, and that she stressed that I had a very good reputation in my jurisdiction and that I would do really well and that I needed to take a leap and do it. So I decided I would, and I resolved that I would open up my practice by December 31st of 2023. This conversation that I was having with my friend was in June of 2022, so I'd given myself 18 months to get my practice up and running. I called my parents, I told them this is the plan, and they just started laughing because they said there was no way I was going to wait 18 months to leave the public defender's office and open my own practice. And sure enough, they were right. They must know me. I was up and running by September of 2022. So basically a little under 3 months. And I've been doing it ever since. The big takeaway, the big lesson that anyone who's watching this video, I would hope takes from this is that we need to be true to ourselves. And it's important to take a moment to reflect, take an inventory of who we are, and decide or choose who it is that we want to be and figure out if what we are doing is consistent with that. I saw that I was changing. I saw that although I've always wanted to be an attorney who strives to provide the utmost quality of service to my clients and who puts his clients first, that I was in an environment that was changing me and that was not going to hold me to that standard. If anyone was going to hold me to that standard, it had to be me. And I decided that in the environment I was in, it was just not going to happen. So I opened up my own practice, and I'm happy to say that now that I've been doing it for over 2 years, it's been going well. I love the work. I actually love running my practice. It's been a lot of fun figuring out how that works, and I'm glad I made the move. I really am. So to anyone who is in a job that is not satisfying you, is not fulfilling you, it's okay to make a change. I was afraid of what it would mean for me to leave the public defender's office. I had told so many people that I was there as a lifer. I prided myself in not having any aspirations of going anywhere else. By the time I left, I would say in the top 8 most senior attorneys at the office. I was the mentorship coordinator, as I mentioned. I was pretty established there. But I will say this: we are all replaceable. When I put in my notice, the office basically said, "Well, we're sorry to see you go. Thanks for letting us know." Basically, there was no effort to keep me. There was no effort to understand why I was leaving. It was just like, okay, well, fine. And I'm not saying that makes the office any worse or anything. I just think that goes to show that we can sometimes overestimate how important we are or how irreplaceable we are. The reality is that we are all replaceable. We need to really prioritize ourselves and our well-being So that's the tale. That's the story of how I went into private practice. It's been going well, and now I get to put out videos like this and talk about my life and my career in ways that I wasn't able to do when I was a government employee. So it's been fun. If you have enjoyed this video, I encourage you to watch the other ones that are in this channel. Please hit like and subscribe so that you get all of the videos that I'll be posting. I post about criminal defense issues and trial issues and legal issues. Join me, come along on this ride. If you've ever had an experience that's like this, where you've had to make a big career change for your own well-being, drop a comment. Let me know about it. I would love to hear about your stories and what my story might have reminded you of, how it has resonated. So please let me know. And if you are in Arizona and have a criminal matter that you need help with, please don't hesitate to call my office at that number right there. You can check out my website. I've got a bunch of blog posts and useful information if you're curious about this stuff. Be well, and I'll see you next time.